Saw held the record for the most consistent horror movie franchise in history, releasing a film every year for 7 years straight, but it then came to an end. But it never really does end, does it? Due to the change of the Saw 7 two-parter idea, the writers felt like the twist of Dr. Gordon was confusing and left more questions unanswered. Oh, I thought you were going to answer all of them, you lying dicks! They had ideas for more, but refused to give anything away at the time in case another movie did in fact materialise. The studio refused any ideas pitched until they heard one that they felt was worth bringing the series back. Really? This is the one that convinced them? Writers Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger spent 2 years coming up with this idea and claimed that they would reinvent the franchise. It was said to be a fresh take on the material that will establish a new storyline to carry the series in the future, with lots of interesting twists. How'd that work out for you? After so many years out of the spotlight, Saw fans were wondering what could be done differently. I watched this film and I'm still wondering. And if Jigsaw himself would actually be alive. Tobin Bell was confirmed to appear, and the trailers all made it look like John was back from the dead somehow, which was the entire selling point of the film, which ended up smashing $103 million against a budget of just $10 million, making it a massive success. To the point the studio officially greenlit a Saw 9 and 10, though Tobin Bell claimed that he had little interest in returning to the character again after this. Bet that payout was good, wasn't it, mate? The movie opens up with a car chase with Colin Farrell's understudy on the run being cornered on a rooftop.
Freeze! Stop right there! Put down the weapon! Can't stop it now! Nothing can stop it!
Why do they always speak so vague in these movies? Just say, hey, Jigsaw's alive, help me!
I gotta choose who dies! Them or me!
Oh hey, it's the writers of Saw 6! And he chooses to save himself, but then he gets shot anyway. So this was kind of pointless. What did the dude expect? Anyway, he had some kind of detonator, but someone deliberately shot him in the chest, which everyone denies. So obviously someone sniped him. Sorry, was that one of the twists? You know, the things that we didn't see coming. And this sets off the main game where these 5 arseholes are all wearing chum bucket helmets from SpongeBob. And they wake up tied to a blade across the room, except one douchebag who I guess is narcoleptic. You know, this trap looks kind of familiar. Oh yeah, that's because it's almost identical to the one in Saw 5! Fresh new material!
Jesus.
Of course, Jigsaw's voice bellows out that they all need to confess their lies, but in this particular trap, it's all very simple.
An offering of blood, no matter how little, will give you a green light.
Why is there any conflict? Just bite your finger, you just need a bit of blood, it's not that hard! But this movie is stupid, so they all start to get dragged towards death because they're too dumb to realise Jigsaw just told them exactly what to do. Eventually one woman does it and it works, so they all follow suit except the world's heaviest sleeper. So he gets completely mutilated, but it's not very important, ignore him. Meanwhile, the cops watch over Colin Farrell Jr. as he's now in a coma.
Doc, we need him awake, we got questions.
I don't think they know how comas work.
What do you want with us?
A good movie? That'd be a nice change. So the douchebags start to introduce themselves and realise they need to cleanse their souls by confessing to how horrible they are. You know, this sounds kind of... And he's fucking Saw 2! But who cares about that? This bird is out for a run when she spots... Okay, in all seriousness, that shot is fucking amazing. But enough of that, let's cut to this dude with his daughter playing catch because we don't have quite enough characters just yet. This is Logan. He used to be a doctor and is also a war veteran, but his wife was murdered a few years ago by the dude from the start of the film. They take him along for some reason. Don't ask me what it was.
Yeah, why is that, sweetheart?
To the coroners to investigate the corpse of Sleepy McSleeperson. They remove the chum bucket helmet to see that he's actually the ghost from Beetlejuice. I'm noticing a pattern with these films.
Someone's been studying up on John Kramer. Copycat?
Hope not. Kramer's been dead for 10 years.
Well, yes, that's why he would be a copycat. Fucking idiot.
As far as we know.
And inside the Jigsaw piece, there's a USB stick, because of course there is. They find Kramer's voice on there, setting up the game and promising to kill again, which is admittedly kinda cool. They take the recording off for voice recognition, while elsewhere, the Jigsaw puppet finally returns for its obligatory cameo.
What the fuck?
No, it's not creepy at all.
Okay, that was pretty funny. But it's a race against time as they get dragged further closer to death. The black kid called Mitch admits that he sold a motorbike to a man who died not long after. The woman Anna claims she lost a baby and her husband was blamed for it. Jigsaw claims that one of them stole someone's purse. Don't send that bitch to the chair! But the woman suffered an asthma attack and the criminal decided to ditch them. Oh. Alright, yeah, screw that. So basically, whoever this criminal was poisoned as they slept. There's 3 syringes. One has an antidote, one has acid, and the other basically kills them all. I think. But it doesn't matter because still nobody wants to confess, despite their lives being at stake. Yeah, I think your life is a bit more important right now than your ego.
Oh, shit.
But one woman is guilty and realises the syringes all have codes on them. She realises that one is the precise amount of money that she stole, but for some reason still doesn't know which one to choose. Oh yeah, that's the biggest fucking coincidence ever. And how the hell does she remember the exact amount of money she stole?
What the hell?
They start being dragged to the ceiling before douchebag, who's called Ryan by the way, but we'll call him douchebag because he's a douchebag, stabs all 3 of them into her at once, saving them all as the acid takes over and kills her, which is actually quite gruesome.
Hey!
Well, no, she knew which one was correct and she still didn't choose. He did you a favour. She's the one. He saved your lives.
I just saved our lives.
Meanwhile, the others identify the chum bucket guy as Malcolm. No, because then it'd be entertaining. His wife was murdered a while back and he was forced to watch. They also informed that the voice recognition came back as none other than...
Voice was John Kramer. Matched. Identical.
Matched.
What? He came back from the dead? Wouldn't be his first time.
Okay, at least they're self-aware. So as the group enter the next area, they don't seem to have any idea who Jigsaw is.
Who's doing this to us?
Which again ruins the entire plot twist at the end. In every other film more or less, Jigsaw is a renowned serial killer, but here they haven't got a clue, so way to spoil your own goddamn twist! Lots of twists and turns in this one, fresh new material.
Okay.
So douchebag confesses to unpaid mortgages, cheating on taxes and wives, but that's pretty much it. Anna claims her husband rolled over and suffocated their baby, wonderful. Douchebag grabs a shovel and ignores the blatant no exit sign, but what a surprise, he falls through the floor and his leg is caught up in some tight ass wires before Mitch spots the audio tape. Man, Jigsaw really needs to upgrade to at least an iPod.
Too late.
Mitch tries to reach it with a rake, but it breaks before using his bare hand, and admittedly the suspense is actually built quite well here at least. But all the tape says is to pull the handle to release the douchebag, which they already knew, so this was kind of pointless.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
They decide to leave him to it as they head inside some cylinder thing where a TV appears. Basically, Mitch and Anna are going to be buried in grain unless douchebag frees himself and them in the process. So much of this makes no sense, it makes my head hurt. How would Jigsaw possibly know that anyone would try the no exit door? Or that it would be Ryan specifically? He says his name in the tape as if this was a live feed.
Ryan.
But we later find out that it's all pre-recorded beforehand. How would he know that Ryan would try the door? How would he know that Ryan would fall through? And how would he know that Ryan wouldn't have already freed himself by the time Mitch and Anna got in the next room? These are the writers who convinced the studio to bring this franchise back? Really?
Oh my god.
Meanwhile, this coroner Bird gets interrogated because, of course, the copycat has to be one of these people involved. It turns out there's a website dedicated to Jigsaw and all of his fans, and she's one of them. Furthermore, they even find DNA under the victim's nail, and it belongs to...
John Kramer.
No, for real, this is actually what sold it to me in the trailer.
Maybe you deserve it.
So douchebag is quite reluctant to lose a leg, so he's just going to sit there forever in pain. Before pitchforks and all sorts of weapons start falling down because apparently being buried alive isn't quite scary enough already. Don't forget to give them like a 4-second time limit to get out. In fact, isn't this a barn made of wood? What's stopping them from using any of these tools to escape?
That's impossible.
Anyway, douchebag does eventually sacrifice his own leg, and Anna nearly dies immediately after. That would have been hilarious. The public are now under the impression that John is somehow still alive, or Logan and his Jigsaw-obsessed bird, whose name isn't important. It's just Jigsaw-obsessed bird. And they're trying to give them an interesting backstory, but it doesn't really work. She has some job or something in Cleveland, but is this really supposed to be more interesting than Jigsaw coming back from the dead? Oh well, she apparently has a source shrine, and he convinces her to show him it, but look, they're being followed! Ooh! And I'm not joking. She literally has a goddamn Jigsaw playhouse. This is mortifying. How would she even get any of this stuff? And FYI, for future reference, she's actually completely innocent in this film, which gives away the other twist. I mean, it's too obvious for her to be Jigsaw, so who else would it be? Till another sequel, it turns out she's apprentice number 98.
I confess that this is fucked up!
But for now, she's completely innocent and has all of these torture devices at her disposal. She apparently also has a trap that Jigsaw designed but never got to use, though she believes he did use it but the bodies were never discovered. So how does she have the trap? How does she know about the trap? What?
Cool.
But look, he has scars all over his back. Oh, it's dramatic for some reason. Oh. Back in the game, we learned that Mitch actually knew that the motorbike's brakes were faulty and he still sold it to the guy who died. And it just so happened to be John's nephew. But how the hell would Jigsaw know this? There was no witnesses. And how does Jigsaw know absolutely everyone in the entire goddamn world? Oh well, Mitch gets completely mutilated, which I must admit I did not see coming. And that was hilarious. Oh, also, the commissioner wanted to calm the public's nerves by showing Kramer's corpse to the world. But instead, the guy from the coma's in it. Somehow. Alright, that is pretty creepy. But how did they get the guy from the hospital to the grave so quickly and undetected? And wouldn't the police have noticed the grave was previously dug up before they even started?
How horrible.
So the cops investigate the Jigsaw funhouse of death, even finding loads of newspaper clippings about him, before arresting Logan for the crimes, but he backtracks and blames the detective. He lists all these pieces of evidence from the previous scenes to make it look obvious it's him, which in turn makes the damn plot twist even more fucking obvious! Loads of twists and fuck you.
No.
Meanwhile, the Saw fan shows up and claims that she knows where the game is being played and she wanted to go and save the day. Which makes no sense based on the twist later, but just go with it.
Good luck, Lollipop.
Back at the game, Anna tries to break out, wedges the door ajar and decides that in a goddamn saw trap, it's a pretty good idea to crawl through it. But what a shock, someone shows up and sedates her. She wakes up, as does Douchebag, both chained to a wall, and we see...
John.
Okay, that reveal is pretty sweet. It's an awesome moment. Her reaction is genuine, and it doesn't give away too much just yet.
I'm trying, dude.
So John reveals that Douchebag was actually a reckless youth who ended up killing 3 people in a car crash and blamed the drivers. How would he know this when there were no witnesses? He also reveals that the doctors messed up his scan results, which is why the cancer took its toll so quickly, as they didn't discover the truth before it was too late. Which is actually quite an interesting new addition, so I guess that's one new thing they added.
Jesus.
And of course John also knows Anna. She was his neighbour and he witnessed her marriage collapsing. And it turns out she couldn't handle the baby crying, so she killed it and framed her husband. All of these people are awful. They have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. They're not like tiny mistakes that people make. They are horrific mistakes. Aren't we supposed to want people to escape saw traps? Isn't this just Saw 2? It's a bunch of criminals all locked in a worn-down building being hunted by Jigsaw. The difference is those were at least interesting. These are just disgusting douchebags who will want to die. And the other characters are just boring sheets of paper, so I have no interest in them either.
I thank you for that.
Meanwhile, Logan and his bird show up at the location because the barn was shut down due to some disease that they found in the system of one of the bodies. But oh no, the detective has followed them and is ignoring the calls as the cops find Jigsaw pieces in his freezer. If the twist were any more obvious, I would be blind. I don't know what that means. They find the first trap and begin to ponder how any of this is even remotely possible.
Jigsaw is dead.
Is he?
Well, yes. A slit throat will do that to you. But oh well, they find the new trap and Logan begins to question her before the detective shows up. Meanwhile, thanks to John speaking fluent cryptic, Anna thinks the key to freedom is killing Ryan, but ends up dying herself. You see, the key was in the bullet. Lovely. I feel so bad. Meanwhile, Logan and the detective both get jumped and wake up with this crap around their necks. John's voice sounds out, and admittedly, this is actually kind of funny.
Make your choice.
How are you alive? How are you still alive?
Of course, the detective double-crosses him and pushes his button first, so Logan has to confess. He apologises for messing up John's scans, but gets killed anyway. Now it's the detective's turn, who confesses to tampering with evidence, taking bribes, and letting murderers and rapists walk free. But now it's time for the dum-dum super dum-dum-da-dum-dum plot twist that we already saw coming an hour ago.
You're working with him.
I am him.
That's right, Logan was Jigsaw this whole time. He planted John's blood, he swapped the bodies, he used John's voice, and the trap we watched for the whole film was actually from 10 years ago, before John was infamous as Jigsaw, explaining why they don't know what's going on. But if Logan was doing all of this, why was it the woman who took him here? She was innocent. He admits he just used her as an alibi, but he left a lot of this on chance. How would he know that she would figure out where the game was? How would he know that she wouldn't suspect him? How would he know the detective would double-cross him first? None of this makes sense! And basically Logan recreated the trap 10 years later, but this time-lapse bollocks was already done before in Saw 3 and 4! Logan was basically the asleep guy and John took him in and also trained him. So for those keeping score at home, John had help from Logan, who was never mentioned or seen in any other film, along with Amanda, Detective Hoffman, and Dr. Gordon. Are you kidding me? How many fucking apprentices does this guy need? Fresh new material? Fucking where? You've just recycled the same plot twist for the 4th fucking time!
Alright.
He basically wanted revenge because the dude at the start killed his wife and the detective let him go. I love how in these movies, all it takes to become a psychotic serial killer is one thing bad to happen to you. I've just lost my job. I'm gonna slaughter Europe. I just don't care for this character or his motive. This exposition lasts an entire 5 minutes and then he kills him anyway, which again goes against Jigsaw's entire shtick. Oh, and the special effects here look hilariously bad.
I speak for the dead.
Oh, come on. He didn't even say game over. This movie can't do anything right. Look, the first 7 aren't exactly perfect. Each of them have problems, and the latter 5 all are basically just the same film. But the reason Detective Hoffman and Agent Strahr made us care was because the movies actually developed on their feud and their characters. It also spread across a few films. This one doesn't focus on it at all, so when the obvious twist happens, you don't care, and it's not even consistent with anything else in this bullshit picture. But what annoys me more is the promises that it was going to be something new and fresh, just to do all of the same bullshit again. And the trailer made it look like Jigsaw was alive. And you know what? The movies are so ridiculous. Just resurrect him. Have a cult of Jigsaw worshippers raise him from the dead. It's nothing less ridiculous than what's already in this stupid timeline. If they just said, look, we know our films are already silly, so we're bringing him back, deal with it. The only reason this movie made so much money was because the trailers tricked our asses completely. That's it. At least him coming back would have been different. What was new? What was different? We spent so many years without an installment, so when they come out with a new one, I expected something original, but they recycle everything. There is not a goddamn thing this film adds to the franchise whatsoever outside of his scan results being switched. In fact, Logan goes out of his way to find victims exactly like the ones 10 years ago to put them through the same traps to resemble the previous ones, but why? The bodies were never found. Why would he need to do any of this? And the barn belonged to John's wife, but they never found that out when questioned. In fact, he copied every death, including the guy who was asleep. But that was him! That was 10 years ago! Why did he murder an innocent person? Why did he make it look like Jigsaw? He wanted to frame this guy, but John died 10 years ago. What was Logan doing since Saw 7 and now? Why not just kill him and frame him? How can you frame him as Jigsaw by putting him in a fucking Jigsaw trap when Jigsaw's fucking dead? None of this makes any sense! The movie is just a pointless cash cow. And you'd think this would be the end and I could get out of here, but no.